In this video, I'm going to walk you through how this high ticket offer is doing $4.3 million a month in cash collected with just 3 high ticket closers. If you don't know who I am, my name is Josh Lyons, and I was able to build my income to earning over $100,000 a month as a high ticket closer. That meant that for the offer owner, I was generating them $1.12 million a month in cash collected single-handedly. I've then gone on to train some of the top sales teams in the industry, like Alex Hormozi's old gym launch sales team, who I took to their highest close rates in over a year. I've then helped scale multiple high ticket offers to $1 million a month in cash collected and beyond. And I've also been building and creating unicorn closers that single-handedly can generate an offer owner $1 million a month in cash collected. Now that sounds pretty crazy. I was able to do it. I've been able to replicate that and create these unicorn closers who are also able to do that. But that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. What that looks like for a high ticket offer to have these unicorn closers on your team, in your corner, literal money printers. And how exactly do you create those unicorn closers? What does it take? What are the differences between a unicorn closer and a normal closer that's really just a bum in a seat, not really doing much and burning through your leads? So without any further ado, let's crack into the video. So the first thing I have here is the testimonial, the case study. This was posted by one of the high ticket closers on the offer, who I guess we could call is the equivalent of a sales manager. His role isn't sales management, and we'll get into why that is here in a minute, but he's kind of the head closer. First thing you'll see here is the October cash collected, $4.3 million. That is cash collected. That is not revenue. Then you'll see the closer commissions, but I don't really care for you to see the closer commissions as much as I care for you to see how many closers there were. 3. One closer generated $111,000 for them in commissions, which at 10% is $1.11 million a month in cash collected. I'll say that again, not revenue, cash collected. Closer number 2, $1.15 million in cash collected at 10%. And closer number 3, the person who wrote the post, $1.05 million in cash collected. You've then got the 2 setters. We won't even get into that in this video. $28,000 and $40,000. That's not the revenue they generated for the company. That is their commissions. That is their commissions. Then what I want to share with you is, before we dive into how this is possible, where they were before I was working to scale their high ticket offer with them. They were at, it says here, before implementing the $1 million pitch, which we'll get into what that is here, and before this closer and the other closers were in my Unicorn Closer Mastermind, before I was teaching them how to become unicorn closers. Long story short, before I worked with them, they were at $600,000 a month. So 600 up to 4.3 million. I don't know what that is. 6, 12, 24. It's a 7x. Okay. So we've got a 7x. And how long have I been working with them? Must be 5 years, must be decades. No, I'm just kidding. It's about 14 months. So 14 months that I've been working with these closers. And by the way, I'm not saying it will take you 14 months to get that number. Neither am I promising in 14 months you would get to that number. I'm just sharing with you this case study. I'll give you a few other examples before we dive into specifics of how to make this happen. I've worked with many high ticket sales teams and taken them from about 500,000 cash collected. In fact, it's actually probably less than that. So let me rewrite that. $400,000 a month in cash collected all the way up to 1.2 million, which really is my initial, guess you could call it, pitch, is get to $1 million a month in cash collected or beyond. Now, as you can see from this sales team, that doesn't mean that's as far as we can go. But if you're not at $1 million a month in cash collected and you want to get there, you could be at somewhere from 250 to 400, and I can get you up to 1.2. That was done in this offer and the other ones that I'm referring to within 8 weeks. So pretty quick. And we'll talk about why things happen so quickly when you're building unicorn closers more in this video. I've also had offers that I've worked with that were already above $1 million a month in cash collected and took them to multiples of that. I won't go into all of the detailed examples, but very simply, this video is about how to make more money cash collected as a high ticket offer owner and how to do that with a limited number of closers. And we'll get into why you want to do that with a limited number of closers right now. So probably don't need my iPad for this. Why do you want to do that with a limited number of closers? Well, you didn't get into running a high ticket offer or being a high ticket offer sales manager, whichever one of those ones you're in, to babysit, to coddle, to be looking over the shoulder of all the high ticket closers or setters on your team. You got into that because you wanted to be working on a business to move pieces around that create more leverage, not to be sitting there as a micromanager. And that is what it is if you have a bloated sales team of a bunch of high-ticket closers that aren't really generating much individually. Let's put some numbers on that. They could be generating $150,000 each. And that simply means that one of those high-ticket closers is less than a seventh of the effectiveness of one unicorn closer that is able to generate $1 million a month in cash collected. So flipping that on its head, for every one unicorn closer, you need 7 other average closers. Now, if you want to have 3 unicorn closers, that's the equivalent of having 21 normal high-ticket closers. I don't think I need to explain to you as a sales manager or a high-ticket offer owner how much of a fucking headache that is, having 5, 10, 15, 20 closers just because you want to make a load of money. And you might have thought, if I want to make a load of money on my high-ticket offer, that's just what's required. Well, I'm here to share with you, no, it's fucking not. You could have an offer doing $1 million a month or a little bit more with one fucking closer, because that's what I did. In fact, to give you more details of the story, when I was on that specific offer, there was 3 sales teams. There was an internal sales team of 5 to 7 people, and it's a range because sometimes they hired 1 or 2 more, sometimes they let go 1 or 2, 5 to 7. Then there was an external sales agency that was paid a revenue share to actually have a sales team that would close on this offer. There was 5 to 7 on that team as well. And then there was me on my own, an external contractor, or they called me a gun for hire. And on my own, I was generating more in cash collected than either of those 2 sales teams. The entire 5 to 7 closers were making less for the high ticket offer owner than I was on my own. And so, to labor the point, which would you prefer? Would you prefer one high ticket closer that doesn't need micromanaging, doesn't give you a headache? Would you prefer to not have the constant churn of replacing the 15 to 20 salespeople on your sales team, and maybe you're not there right now, the 15 to 20 that you would get up to hit these types of multiple $1 million a month in cash collected numbers? Do you want to have to be interviewing every week or having your sales manager interview every week? Do you want to have a sales manager? Do you want to be paying someone else a revenue share of the money that your offer is making because your closers need babysitting? Or would you rather just have a unicorn closer that is independent, self-sufficient, self-driven, and all the things that we're going to get into here as far as high performance? The question is very simple. Which would you rather? Well, for this high-ticket offer owner, it wasn't even a question. It was, I want to make a load of money. I don't want a headache business. I don't want a business with loads of tentacles. I don't want to give away rev share unnecessarily. And I just want to have the best of the best. By the way, another side note, before we get into some of the tangible specifics here, it's embarrassing for you as a high-ticket offer owner to have a bunch of average salespeople that when your prospects, when your leads get on the phone, make a mockery of your business because they're so fucking shit at sales. That's not something I thought I was going to get into in this video, so I'll leave it there. But just simply put, the things that I've heard bad salespeople say when I've done call reviews for the offer owners that hire me, it is wildly embarrassing for your brand. And those people can talk. Those leads, those prospects can talk to someone else. So you talk about wanting more sales from referrals. This is literally the opposite. You're going to be turning people away because of the things that are being said. But most importantly, you built a brand. You built a personal brand. You built a business brand. You built an identity for your company. And then you have these dog shit closers that can literally say one wrong thing. And before you know it, it's on Trustpilot. It's on Google. It's on YouTube. There's a YouTube video made about it, whatever. It's all over the internet. And as you may or may not know, if you've already faced this, that stuff is very hard, if not nigh on impossible, to reverse. So there's so many reasons that you want unicorn closers. That's just let's dip our toe into the water here and I'll work our way into it gently. That's a small reason. Let's get into some of the bigger reasons. So how do you have a high ticket offer doing $4.3 million a month with just 3 unicorn closers? There are 4 different things that you need to have dialed in by your high ticket closers in order to make $4.3 million a month in cash collected. The 4 things are, you need them to have the highest close rate, obviously. Second one, and these are not in any order, by the way, you need them to be able to generate the highest cash collected, which means they're not doing everything on fucking payment plans or on financing, unless you've got a great financing where you get most of the money up front. But even then, it's another tentacle in the business. You want your high ticket closers to say the offer's $15K, it's $15K paid in full, and the prospect most often pays in full. Third thing that you want is you want consistency or sustainability. What is the difference between that and just simply sustainability and close rate? Can they maintain that close rate? Can they not get sick every 4 weeks because they burn out for a long enough period of time? Do you need to replace the closers every 3 months, every 12 weeks? So long-term consistency and sustainability. And the fourth one, this is probably, in my opinion, the least talked about ones. The first three, you've probably heard those before, is price point. Now, I'm not talking about the price point that you give the offer. I'm talking about the closer's ability to sell a higher price point. Closer's ability to sell at a higher price point. You can have closers that have a great close rate at 5K. The offer's 5K. But the moment you bump that offer up over time to 15K, they can't close. They can't close it at 15K. Or, and these all overlap, they can close the 15K, but now it's on a 12-month payment plan. So you see, your $4.3 million of cash collected is broken down into these four things. The close rate, the cash collected up front, the price point, which I'll do a dollar sign, and then the consistency. I'll draw a little graph here that's going up and up and up. Okay, makes sense? Those are the four things. If you do not have training or the inputs to create unicorn closers, you will be missing one, at a minimum, of all of these four. The key thing to be able to scale is the closers have to have a high close rate. Why? Because the money that they generate is going to be circled back into ads. And so if you're pumping money into ads and the close rate is 10, 15, 20, 25%, 30% across the team, you reach a cap on your ability to reinvest money into the ads, or even if it's organic, growing the personal brand. And so when it comes to scaling, that close rate is critical because it allows you to have the flywheel effect. The price point is equally critical because not only does it allow you to reinvest more money in ads if you're charging a higher price, but that is one of the biggest levers to be able to scale. You could take this $4.3 million a month cash collected business and you could say the offer was 10K. That would have literally taken 2/3 off of the cash collected because the offer on this, on average, is 30K. Now, most high ticket closers, they have a shit close rate. They can't collect much upfront cash or their close rate goes down. Their consistency and sustainability isn't there, so you're constantly hiring new closers. And as I said before, they can't close at a high price point. You literally need all four of these if you want to hit $1 million a month in cash collected and beyond, So now let's get into how exactly I was able to solve all four of these problems for this high ticket offer. There's two parts of a call that are 90% of the reason that the sale is made or lost. As you can see with this simple diagram, the applicant shows up to the call and then on one side, and on the other side, the applicant gives you money. And in between that, you have the discovery and you have the pitch. And so when a high ticket offer owner asks me to come into their offer and scale it to $1 million a month in cash collected or beyond, these are the things that I need to fix. Not only do I need to fix these things, but I need to optimize these things for the very simple reason, as I said before, you don't want to scale your offer to a higher cash collected number and just imprison yourself emotionally, physically, and spiritually as the offer owner or as the sales manager, because now you've got this business that has 20 high ticket closers that are all only generating $150,000 a month in revenue, not even cash collected. And you've got all this micromanaging, you've got all this coddling, you've got all this babysitting, and you've just got this business that even if you were able to scale it to $1 million a month in cash collected or beyond, which probably is impossible for all the reasons I just mentioned, even if you did, you've now created this business that has so much internal pressure that as you continue to scale, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, eventually the whole thing just implodes. And so that is what we're avoiding. Number one, actually never being able to hit this level of income. Number two, doing so, but having a business that you hate because it's this bloated business where you've either given rev share away to a sales agency to run the sales team, you're giving rev share away to a sales manager or whatever. Or finally, you scale and scale and scale and create all of this complication and this complex machine, and it eventually all implodes. So it was all worth nothing. So how do we do that? As I said, front part of the sales call is the discovery, and the back part is the pitch, where we actually make the actual offer. These are the two things that create unicorn closers. They have to master the discovery, and they have to have a $1 million pitch so that they've also mastered the pitch side of the call. So what does that actually look like when I come in to fix those two parts to a sales call for a high ticket offer that I'm scaling? Well, let's start with the discovery. So I need to fix the discovery, which is two parts. You have the internal and you have the external of what your closers are doing. And in the second part, we have the pitch or the offer. And so for that part here, I have to write you, alongside my business partner, my underground mentor, a script and a pitch from beginning to end that your closers are going to deliver word for word on every single call. Now, when you have these now three things, the internal launchpad to the discovery, I'll explain what the launchpad is here in a minute, the scriptless selling, external training, and a done-for-you pitch or offer, which is an owned asset that's custom written for your business so that you can create the highest perceived value for your offer or business. What those three things combined allow you to do is the four things I shared before. Maximize the close rate, maximize the cash collected, maximize the consistency, and maximize the price point that each individual closer is using. They're using the highest close rate and the highest cash collected and the highest consistency and the highest price point. When you do that, you have unicorn closers. You can have a much smaller sales team giving away significantly less rev share if those are the ways that you were going to scale, and you're actually able to have a more enjoyable business, and you're able to make more money. It's a win, 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 win. And so how exactly did you do that? Let's get into more details. If you'd like me to come in and accomplish this for you, by the way, right now I have just 3 spots. 3 spots for serious high-ticket offer owners that want me to come in and implement the same unfair advantage that I implemented into Alex Hormozi's old gym launch sales team that took them to their highest close rates in over a year, that I've now used across multiple high-ticket offers to scale them to $1 million a month in cash collected or beyond, and the same exact things from the case study at the start of this video that's allowed 3 high-ticket closers, 3 unicorn closers to do $4.3 million a month in cash. If you want to work with me, there's 3 spots, first come, first served. Below this video, there'll be a link to apply to work with me. Back to the video. So let's get into these 2 pieces here in the discovery. So the first part of the discovery, to get your closers to be able to run a great discovery, part 1 is this piece here called the Launchpad, which is 8 phases of internal mastery training. Now, why is this so important? Literally nothing that I could teach your closers to do on a sales call even matters if they are weak, they have low energy, they have lack of clarity, lack of direction, poor beliefs, poor habits, etc. Closers that have untrained physical, mental, and spiritual health and hygiene have a very low ceiling when it comes to learning the external skills and executing those external skills. And also remember that how a closer shows up in their personal life off their calls determines how they show up on their calls. And so with this internal mastery training called the Launchpad, the same exact thing I taught Hormozi's old gym launch, the same thing my underground mentor taught me to make me into a unicorn closer that could do $1.12 million a month in cash collected, is this internal mastery training, which is 8 phases that allow a closer, or me training the closer, to fix all of those internal leaks. And so what are those 8 phases? You have state mastery, which is them being able to control their emotions, their state, prior to a call, during a call, post-call, their mission, having drive, having a goal, having something they're actually striving towards. For example, you're going to find that your high-ticket closers don't go past $200,000 revenue or cash collected a month if they don't want the watch, if they don't want the house, or they think they don't, if they don't want the business class travel to retire their parents. And so they have to have drive. And one of the ways they have drive is through this internal mastery training, where I show them how to actually create a why that is strong enough, as Friedrich Nietzsche said, to make the how bearable, to make the how possible. What else? We've got health, superhuman health. You don't want your closers getting sick all the time, having poor sleep, having brain fog, so they can't solve problems, they can't connect to the prospects, they're tired all the time, simply because they're not taking care of their health. Their habits, their values, their environment, their beliefs, and their communication. So there's 8 different phases for the internal mastery training. And so when you combine all 8 of these phases, it is a holistic transformation from the ground up, and that will dial in your closers. Now that's just one piece of them becoming unicorn closers. So what's next? Well, we obviously have the external, which is scriptless selling, but that's not what we work on next, because simultaneously, whilst I'm doing the internal mastery training, my business partner, my underground mentor, he's going to be working on the pitch and the offer, and I'm going to be helping him where necessary as well, passing on some of the information, communicating between us all. But we can actually do both of these things simultaneously. Now, what's wrong with the pitch or the offer that most high-ticket closers are using? 99.9% are doing it completely backwards. They're doing it incorrectly, and it's flushing an insane amount of money down the toilet because of the close rate, the cash collected, and the price point all being fucked, excuse my language, because of the pitch or offer not being written in the right way. And so there's 2 specific mistakes that happen with most pitches. Number 1, the closer makes it very short. And by the way, I'm aware that it's not the closer that's usually making it up. It's what they've been given by the high-ticket offer owner or sales manager, or lack of being given something. Mistake number 1, they make it very short and simple, and it comes off as very invaluable. And so therefore, the price looks very high. Let alone if you wanted to increase the price, you couldn't, because it looks too high in comparison to how simple and short the pitch is. Number two, the second problem is the closer will attempt to establish a lot of value by cramming in tons of different things. But it then ends up coming off as complicated and very hard to understand. And so it either comes off as valuable but confusing, and therefore the prospect, is not going to take action, or it comes off as easy to understand but not valuable. And so the person is not going to buy because it doesn't match the price. Also, you can't increase the price. So now when it comes to the pitch, we are literally writing that for you during our time working together. It is completely done for you. We write that from front to end. We've done dozens of these. They're called $1 million pitches. The name says it all. The pitch in and of itself has doubled the cash collected of many of the offers that we've been scaling. Now, I'm not talking about going from 50K to 100K. I'm talking about going from 300K to 600K or 400K to over $1 million a month in cash collected, simply from the first two things that I've covered, the internal mastery training and the $1 million pitch. And so these two things are game changers. These are insane when it comes to the amount that this can add to your monthly cash collected. Now, to write the $1 million pitch, it's somewhere around about 30 hours that goes into perfecting it. Then we're going to deliver it to you, and then we train your team on it. So not only do they get the $1 million pitch, they also get training on actually how to deliver it. Now, you might be wondering why this style, our style of script writing, is so effective. It's that we combine the best of both worlds that I shared before. It is simple and it is easy to understand, whilst also it is infusing massive perceived value and authority in what you offer. And so the prospect is going to be clear on the process and also the value. So the price to access it, it actually feels very small in comparison. And as I said before, and I've mentioned it 3 times now, it allows you to increase the price over time. You won't be able to increase the price if you fuck up not having a $1 million pitch. So what next? Well, now we'll go back to the discovery, but this is now part 2, which is the scriptless selling methodology. This is the external side of the discovery. So now that your closers have completed the 8 phases of the internal training, we're going to move into the external training. You may have noticed that most sales trainers, they're trying to teach a scripted discovery. In other words, it is the same set of questions, one after the other, no matter what a prospect says. I'll be teaching the closers to become unicorn closers by doing exactly the opposite. Most salespeople run a scripted discovery. Most salespeople generate $150,000 to $200,000 a month in revenue or cash. What about the closers that do $1 million a month? Well, I'll tell you straight up, they're not just doing a better version of the same thing. They are zigging when everybody else is zagging. They're literally doing the exact opposite. As Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, that is the definition of insanity. And so what I'll be teaching your closers to do specifically is how to run a discovery that gets to the truth, the real truth with the prospect. How you do that is you teach them to peel back the layers one by one by one. If you haven't seen me do this, you're welcome to go to my YouTube channel and watch some of the role plays where I do that, or even there's role plays where I'm closing. And that allows you to assist the potential client or the potential prospect to see the severity of where they currently are and the consequences of staying there. If this doesn't happen, if they do not go deep enough, if they do not peel back the layers, it is very unlikely that the prospect is going to part with their money. And so that brings me back to the close rate will be lower. But not only that, if they are going to part with their money, they want to do it with the lowest risk. Can I do a payment plan? Can I do financing? They don't want to just give you upfront a paid in full. Or it won't happen for a long enough period of time because eventually the closers will get fed up and burned out of the fact that they know that they're getting qualified prospects, and so do you, and so does the sales manager. The prospects are definitely qualified, but they're not closing them, and so their consistency will tank. And the final thing is, if you do not go deeper to show the severity at a higher level of the prospect's situation and the consequences of them staying there, you can't charge a higher price because the price is equal to the level of severity that the prospect thinks the problem is in terms of costing them. So, all that to say, by mastering scriptless selling to go deeper, to have an authentic, real conversation, that allows the prospect to make a commitment to change today on the sales call, and therefore they feel pulled to take action and to buy on the call. And so now we've gone through the 3 different things. You've got the internal mastery training, the launchpad, you've got scriptless selling, the external training, and you've got the done for you written pitch or offer. And so all of this combined creates unicorn closers. Creates unicorn closers that can have the highest close rate, can have the highest cash collected, can have the highest consistency, and can have the highest price point. If you want to scroll back in the video and you look at that screenshot that I took, you'll see that the person that posted it said team-wide The close rate, and bear in mind there's only 3 closers because that's all you need when they're that good, was 50%. 50%. Most sales teams do not have closers across the board that are closing at 50%. Why is that? Because they do not have the internal training. They do not have the ability to go deeper than a script allows them to go, peel back the layers, have a real conversation, actually get people to buy from them because of who the closer has become as a person, which is they've actually become a better version of themselves. So prospects trust them. Prospects want to open up. They also don't have the pitch written in a way that's simple and clear to understand, but also infusing massive perceived value. So long story short, those are the 3 things that I fix. And these combined allow you to have the highest close rate, the highest cash collected, the highest consistency over time, and the highest price point that when combined creates unicorn closers that allows you to have a unicorn offer. An offer that's able to do $1 million a month in cash collected or beyond, in this case, $4.3 million a month in cash collected, which by the way, if you times that by 12, that is $48 million a year. How does that compare to what you're currently doing? And second question, what if you thought about scaling to $48 million? I can almost guarantee it that you're like, oh my God, that's going to be a headache. I'm going to need 30, 40 salespeople. I'm going to need 2 sales managers. I'm going to need to micromanage everybody. Yes, if you do it the old way. If you do it by scaling through bloating, by actually having a bunch of ineffective salespeople, absolutely. Absolutely. The final thing I'm going to leave you with is looking at those numbers. And I'll actually leave these 4 things below. So when I talk about a bloated sales team, this is what I mean. If you had the goal of hitting $1 million, and so this is cash collected per month, and your average closer, and I'm being very, very generous here, very generous, was doing $200,000 a month, not in revenue, in cash collected. So this is per closer. You need 5 of them. Okay? If you wanted to do the 4 million that my client was able to do, 4.3, that would be 20. 20 closers. Even me just looking at that number is giving me a migraine, giving me a headache. I'm like, oh my God, 20 people? What a prison cell that would be as a high ticket offer owner or as a sales manager. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, to have 20 closers that you're having to manage. Or you would feel like you need to do what most high ticket offer owners do and take it external, which means you're going to give away a rev share. And I'm just making a random number here, but it could be 10, could be 20%, could be somewhere around there. And you're giving all that money away because you think that you need to scale to 20 closers to hit, in this case, 4 million a month. Well, the problem all comes from the simple fact that, let's put those back, simple fact that one unicorn closer is the equivalent of 5 or more normal salespeople. I'm being really generous when I say that the average salesperson on a sales team is cash collecting 200. Realistically, and I'm still being freaking generous, realistically, they're doing 150. Still being generous, but 150. In fact, that should probably be in red to show you how devastating this actually is. 150,000 in cash collected. So that would mean this no longer is going to be 5. This is going to actually be, what number is that? It's going to be one unicorn closer. One unicorn closer is the equivalent of 7 normal closers. Just simply think about the fact that the likelihood that you get 20 salespeople to produce consistently at a high level for your offer is very slim anyway. Then the likelihood, if you did do that, or you had a sales manager to do that for you, that it's going to be a fucking headache is 100%. The alternative is you have unicorn closers. And I've walked you through exactly what it takes to have unicorn closers. Internal mastery training, scriptless selling training, and $1 million pitch. Those 3 things combined allow you to hit $1 million a month in cash collected. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, before I wrap this up, you might be thinking, 4 million? That's way ahead for me. I'm happy with 1 million. Do not be mistaken to think that just because I've been using the example of 4 million, that 1 million is going to be any easier. Having 5, and again, because I was being generous, having 5 to 7 salespeople on an internal team that you need to manage, or externally hiring an agency of 5 to 7 people, is going to be a financial headache, an emotional headache, a physical headache, and a spiritual headache. Do you want that? If the answer is no, you don't want that, you can either implement all the things that I've just shown you on your own. You can teach your salespeople internal mastery training if you think you have the specific sales experience to implement that. And I'm being direct with you. You probably don't. And scriptless selling training and write $1 million pitch. Or right now, I have 3 spots to bring in a high ticket offer that wants to scale to $1 million a month in cash collected and beyond, and do that by installing Unicorn Closers, by giving them the sales training that I've walked through, the internal mastery training and scriptless selling training, and installing a $1 million pitch. It is first come, first serve. If you want me to help you do that, if this training makes total sense to you and you're like, I need that, I need it now, and I don't want to try and figure it out on my own, then click the link below this video to apply to work with me. And I'll see you in whatever communication we end up in. If not, if you don't want to work with me and you want to try doing this all on your own, I hope this was helpful so you understand what it takes to hit $4.3 million a month in cash collected and do that with 3 unicorn closers.